Hello everybody, my name is Rainer. This is Rainier Books. Today I have another single review for you because I've read and finished already like 2 weeks ago the winner of the Booker Prize of 2021, The Promise by Damon Galgut. And let's talk about this book now. It is like 3 o'clock, 3 p.m., 10 minutes past 3 on this on this Thursday, which is actually Thursday, December the 23rd when I'm doing this. And you can see still a little daylight outside, although it's not that bright as it seems to be because the camera is sort of making it a little bit brighter than it is. It's dark and it's yellowish already in this room, and the light is not up. It's not really good to film this video, but I do it anyway because I have a message to tell you. I have to tell you something about The Promise by Damon Galgut, the winner of the Booker Prize 2021. I have read, this was my second reading experience with a book by Damon Galgut. Earlier, I have read In a Strange Room a couple of years ago. In a Strange Room was nominated, it was shortlisted actually for the Booker Prize many years ago, and it is a book that has also very interesting structure that reminds a little bit of the structure of The Promise, because this book has the structure of 3 chapters and it's called 3 Journeys. And it's about a young gay man traveling through different countries in Southern Africa. Not in South Africa, but in Southern Africa. And this book, The Promise, has the structure that it is 4 funerals where we meet the characters, where we meet the people, and where we meet what happens in the society. I thought about the entrance to this novel, to get into this novel for you, was a little bit to speak about history, because I actually realized that people who are as old as I am, or maybe a little bit younger, know pretty much have a vague idea or a good idea about what apartheid was in South Africa and about the history of South Africa. But I realized that many younger people don't have this, and you are not to blame if you are younger and listen to this video and watch this video, because I'm from Germany, and we had a wall. We had 2 countries, Eastern Germany and West Germany. They had official names, German Democratic Republic and Federal Republic of Germany. The wall fell in 1989. That was 32 years ago today. And a lot of young people, even teenagers in Germany, don't know exactly what happened during the separation of the German countries and why it came to this situation. So I think that's pretty natural, because time lets things forget, and that's the move in the past. And also, many people of today don't know what the Soviet Union was. They know that Russia is a big country and seems to be threatening for some people in the West, but exactly what the Soviet Union was, many of you don't know. I knew because I grew up with it. So apartheid, a few words about apartheid before I start with the novel. And what I found out when I did some research for the novel is that South Africa was one of the first African countries. I think it was the first black African country to get independence from the colonial power that it belonged to, from the usurpators, from the people who have taken the land, stole the land from the people. And South Africa was the first country who got this independence already in 1910. Which was formalized completely almost in 1931, but decades ahead of all the other countries in Africa. Most of the countries in Africa got their independence in the 50s and in the 60s. So South Africa was 40 years ahead, which didn't lead South Africa to the better. I don't say that it was good that the other countries came later, but to think that South Africa's independence in 1910 was good for the majority of people in South Africa, it probably wasn't. Because what it means was that the independence that was gained from the UK in 1910 and then in 1931 completely, this independence led to the white minority of about 4 million people taking the rule, the complete power, the complete control about the 60 million black people who lived in South Africa at the time. And when the other countries started their independence movements and started to gain independence in the 50s, then in 1948, the National Party in South Africa gained power. And the National Party was fueled by the Afrikaans, because there are two white groups in South African society. One is the Afrikaans speaking, the Dutch, former Dutch colonial power, people who have the former Dutch colonial powers as their ancestors, and then the British. So the Afrikaans people are actually in the majority. They have a lot more. About 13%, I think, of the population speaks Afrikaans as a native language, but there are also some black people. It's a very complicated situation. But nevertheless, to make it a little bit easier, I think it's important to know that the National Party was a white, very conservative party that only gained the rights of the white people, of the white minority, to control the majority, to control the possession of wealth in the country. There was no election rights. And in 1948, the apartheid was actually founded by the National Party. They started to... Apartheid is a Dutch word. It's an Afrikaans word, and it means apart height, separateness in English would it mean. And it means that the black and white were totally separated in buses, in schools, and cinemas. Black people were not allowed to do anything, actually, more or less. And people weren't even allowed to have relationships with each other, even friendships. It was a modern form of slavery in the 20th century. And it was abolished first in 1994. I spare you the long history. You should read absolutely more about South Africa, watch videos about the history. It's very interesting. It's very important to know the history of that country. But in 1994, the apartheid was abolished, and Nelson Mandela became the first black president. And until today, 2021 and soon 2022, there is no more segregation like it was before, but there's still a huge segregation in terms still of political power, although we have a black government, still of, first of all, possession of the resources, because the resources are still in the hands of white people today in 2021, 2022. So I show you some drone footage where someone made a drone movie, which shows you the difference between black areas in South African cities or outside South African cities and white properties in South African cities. So you can see that the vast majority of the black population is extremely poor, and still we have a lot of white people who are extremely rich. And nothing really has happened to sort of equal the opportunities of the people when they start their lives. That was a long story, and I hope that you don't mind. But I think it's important to know that. And the reason why apartheid came down was because there was a black movement, of course, the African National Congress, first of all, who tried to bring this system of injustice down. But without the international pressure, that came much too late. There was always international pressure, even within the white minority of South Africa. There was always a small group of people who wanted to abolish apartheid. But without the international pressure, it wouldn't have been possible. I mean, people like Frank Sinatra, I love this guy. I love his voice, but his political actions were not always right. He went to South Africa, got a lot of money for playing and singing in Sun City in South Africa, in a big casino for white people, and he flew always with his 600 Mercedes to South Africa in a machine, and so that he could cruise around. And but then people like Little Steven from Bruce Springsteen's, Steven Van Zandt also known as Little Steven from Bruce Springsteen's E Street Band, he started a movement actually to boycott Sun City, and lots of artists started boycotting Sun City in the 1980s, and there was a lot of boycott. Without the boycott, without the international exclusion of South Africa, I think we wouldn't have been able to, the world wouldn't have been able to at least abolish this inhumane, horrendous, horrible, terrible, criminal system of racial separation that South Africa had. And still today, that's also something that I thought about. We still have the name of the country is South Africa. Many African countries have had names like, there was also the former country of Rhodesia, which was named after the colonizers, after the criminals who invaded the country. But this country is now called Zimbabwe. It's got an African name. And there was also Southwest Africa, which now is called Namibia, which has an African name. But South Africa is still South Africa. So, but that's just a thing that I sort of registered now when I read about this and when I thought about it. The Promise by Damon Galgut.